this particular week, the fundamentals of pricing. So there's some elements in pricing that we have to understand. The elements of pricing include labor cost, material cost, markup, and efficiency. So let's go through each one of those one by one. So the labor cost is the cost for you or your team to get the job done on site. So this is the on the tools labor cost. So think of this as your field staff wages and superannuation that you're going to have to pay someone to go and get the work done. And you're going to then transfer that over to charging the client with a profit, okay? But what we've found is a lot of people don't understand their labor cost. They haven't worked it out, and they price off of, you know, their old boss. This is what my old boss used to charge. They price off of, I saw someone charge this in the local paper. It's not really a paper anymore that we look at on the internet. I saw, you know, this is a friend said that they're charging this, so I'm going to charge that too. That's not appropriate to be, you know, systematic around our pricing. If we want to be profitable and we want to know how much we need to charge, we need to calculate it. And that's what we'll be doing today in the elements of pricing week. Material cost. This is a pretty self-explanatory one, but material cost is all of the expenses of the materials you're going to use on the job. So every material needs to be accounted for, but when you don't account for it, because often we don't, there's a lot of things that get missed, or we forget to put it on the invoice, especially when we have, you know, staff. They will just forget to say that they use something, and that material cost that wasn't accounted for that cost purely comes off our profit. It's crazy. So we've got to get really very dialed in with our material usage and the cost that it has on us as a business, and allocating that cost as well. The next one is markup. So labor and material has markup. Like the cost of your business isn't your hourly rate. I hope not anyway. Some people it is. And some people's cost is actually higher than the hourly rate. How's that? Pretty interesting. So you guys, by the end of this masterclass, won't have that situation, because you will work out your exact cost per hour. So you know how much it's costing you per hour over a full 8-hour day. And then we can factor in a markup. That's our, you know, our markup for labor, which is going to be, you know, might have 20% on that, might have 30% on that, but that's going to be our profit. The markup is our profit, but we have to know our cost. Does everyone understand that? Awesome. Then there's the material markup, and we'll all be accustomed to this. Like we'll all know this because most people charge hourly rate plus materials and markup. Anyone here done that? Who's charged like that before in the past? Yep. Yeah, hourly rate plus materials and markup. So we're used to the material markup. We're used to that. This is what we've seen a lot as well, is a lot of people out there in the trade industry actually have a higher cost per hour for their labor cost, and then they lose money on labor because they have a markup on materials, and they make all of their profit, if they make profit, on the material markup only. Isn't that crazy? So that's what we want to make sure we're not doing by the end of this lesson today. Hopefully we've got a good understanding of we know exactly how much profit we're going to make if we can book out 8 hours, and exactly how much profit we're going to make if we can book out you know, all of the materials on the job with the markup we said. So that's an important factor as well. Now efficiencies, this is the leverage, right? So think of efficiency as the lever you can pull to really drive profit through the roof. I'll give you a quick example of this. Now, imagine you've charged for an hour to do a small job, and you can do it in half the time. So let's just say your hourly rate's $150 an hour, and you did it in half the time. So your efficiency is 200% because you did it in half the time. So what that means is your hourly rate is 200%. So your hourly rate for that one item at 60 minutes is double, $300 an hour. So that's what we're going to teach you. Now, same goes with materials, and you guys that might do fixed price might be used to this. You're like, yeah, I quoted for all these materials, but we were able to be efficient with our usage, and and then we didn't use all the materials we priced for. And so you might have, let's just say, used only 50% of the materials. So whatever you pay, let's say $10,000 materials, and you had a 50% markup on it, then that's, let's just, for easy maths, that's $15,000 you charged for it, but you only had to pay for $5,000 of materials because you're efficient with it. So your profit went from $5,000 to $10,000. Isn't that good? That's good, eh? Efficiency, leverage. That's what we want. We want leverage, and we can do that by, the best thing about when we get our pricing right is you will be able to hire people because we're going to price for an average tradesperson to join your team. This is really important. So when we price for an average person, they can start in your business and be profitable, right? They'll make just the normal profit. If they hit the time you've set and they've used the materials you're allowed for because they wasted heaps and you've allowed for wastage, then they're still profitable. So what we do over time, instead of coming to them with, you should be twice as fast and you should stop wasting materials and you're shit, like that, and get out of my business. Instead of saying that to them, we say, hey, I noticed that, we can definitely work on some things here. We can get twice as fast as this. Let's work together. And you're not freaking out because you're losing thousands of dollars. Who would like that? Yeah? So the difference is we've priced so that it's, you're going to make profit with an average person. And that gives you time to support without the stress of, we're losing so much money because of this person, right? So when we get that right, what's going to happen is you can really be proactive about helping them, and you slowly train them to get faster and faster. And as they get faster and faster, you can be super pumped because your hourly rate and your material markup and efficiency is both increasing. And so they're getting more profitable. And that's when we can build in incentive programs. That's when we can really build some really cool stuff into the way that we present pricing so that, the team can grow with your pricing. Who likes the sound of that? Awesome. Next up, we've got the two main business factors that we want to know about in our business is gross profit and net profit. Now, these are going to tell us a lot about how the business is going. So I'll try and simplify this as easy as I can, because this confused me for so long. It's like, why do I need to know about this? I just want to know if I've made money. So gross profit is the income and taking the cost of sales. Now, the cost of sales, everything that goes into that, and we'll talk about this in a minute when we go into our cost of ops calculator, simplified, is everything related to charging onto the job. That's the easiest way I can explain it. So it is your field staff's wages and your field staff's super. It's your subbies, your subcontractors' charges or fees. It's your hire equipment. And it's anything you on-charge onto the job. Anything you'd put in your invoice, every cost that you would put onto your invoice should go into the cost of sales. Does that make sense? Can I get a thumbs up if it does? Great. So the cost of sales is everything that you're going to on-sell. The operational expenses then is everything else. So that's your, internet, your telephone, your fuel, your membership, it's all the other things that are still very essential for you to be a successful business, but they're called operational expenses. And included in this is your office staff and management. So we just need to be aware of this when we're phasing ourselves off of the tools, because if we're 50% on the tools, we need 50% of our wages on, cost of sales, because you're on the tools 50% and 50% of your wages in the office. So it's just something you want to, don't want to overcomplicate it. But when we are fully off the tools, we definitely want all of our wages to be sitting down into the operational expenses if you're still in the operation, right? So my wages now, my dividends I take from Response are under the net profit, out of the operation completely, because I'm not involved with that. Rory is running the business and I work with Rory, but I'm not part of the operation. I'm not directly involved in the operation anymore. So that's just how we want to think about these things. So think of gross profit is how well are you doing on the job? That's it. How well are you charging? How well is your invoicing? How well are you doing on the job? The net profit is how well is your business doing? Really, net profit is what we care about the most, but the gross profit is going to show us if there's some other issue in the business that we need to fix in terms of our pricing, in terms of our performance, in terms of our efficiency. All of those things are what we're going to discover when we look at those things. And you'll go deep diving into this in the Business Financials Masterclass. So I really think you guys, if you get a chance next, to sign up to that one. Next month. All right, next up is the types of ways you can charge. Now, I did do and charge and I did fixed price for a long time. So do and charge is obviously your labor, so charge out rate, plus materials and markup. And so in your invoicing, when a customer gets that, they're like, what the hell? Why is your hourly rate so high? Like mine's only 35 bucks an hour where I work and you're charging me 100, 120. The other thing is they go, I've heard that someone else can do it cheaper. They can compare your hourly rate exactly with someone else's. And that sucks. We don't want that. What we want to compare, we want the customer to compare is how well that you will do and the value you'll provide. And we don't want that to be a factor of whether they choose you or not. And so that's the challenge I had with do and charge. There's some scenarios where you just will have to do and charge because it's just super unpredictable and you don't actually know, what's going to happen. So an example of do and charge, even in shopping list pricing system, is something like service work or fault finding, where you won't know how long it's going to take to get it done. But there is some ways that we can build that in so that they still don't know your hourly rate. But if we're talking big commercial, industrial sort of stuff, sometimes hourly rate do and charge is going to work because what we've got is a high efficiency, because we've got days after days after days, if not weeks and months, where you can achieve that 100% efficiency with the team because you're just, it's easy. But what you won't get with do and charge without lying, don't lie, I'm looking at you, is the hourly rate and material. If you're lying, you could say you use more than you did, but if you're truthful, you won't make any leverage. You can't get over 100% efficiency with do and charge. Fixed price. It's like a big shopping list pricing system. It's just it's everything that you're going to do on the job, all the materials, all the labor, one price. Here's what it's going to cost you. Here's a big list of all the things. Who charges fixed price here? So it's just a list of all the things that you're going to do you've then in the back end calculated how much material and how much labor is going to be associated to that job. And you can get great efficiencies with this. Who's won on this before? Like you've given a single price and you just smashed it out. Yeah, it's great. The only challenge we got with fixed price is people kick back on it. They don't understand how it could cost so much. Like, why are you charging more than, down the road? And that's when they still can compare, with another company that has a fixed price as well for the job. And they'll just go, oh, that one's, $1,000 cheaper. Let's go with them. So the next price is per point or shopping list pricing system. So what that is actually building labor and materials into a single action. a single product and an end result. And what I mean by that is by the end of the installation, they get the thing they wanted. For us at Response, someone wants the PowerPoint on the wall. They don't care that the cable's coming through the roof and you've got to put a junction box and got to do all these things. They don't care about that. They just want a PowerPoint over there. And so we give them a price for that. And it doesn't matter if it takes us an hour or 30 minutes or 15 minutes, the price is the same because all they want is a PowerPoint. So we've allowed for all scenarios to happen and we can do it in less time, we win. So that is the 3 different charging types that you're going to be faced with in your business. Oh my God, I should have turned this off before the session started. Okay, cost of operations. Now we talked about material cost, labor cost, markup, and efficiency. So you're used to markup on materials, we all said yes. It's the markup on labor, which is the challenging part. And so what we've built here is a very simplified model of the cost of operations, which is going to give you a good understanding of what is your charge out rate per hour. And this is going to be a great starting point. If you want to go deep dive into cost of operations, you need to do the Business Financials Masterclass. That's where we've systematically over weeks going to really train you to understand that on a deep and meaningful level. But this will get us through this masterclass, and this will get you at least identifying if you're losing money on labor, and we'll get very close to where it's going to be. So I'm going to show you exactly how to use this right now, and we're going to jump into that and implement after this. So let's go into this. Okay, so this is your regular cost of operations, and I'll show you where to find that in a minute. But what we've done in this done for you in this sheet down the bottom is the basic cost of ops. A very simplified single page cost of ops. Now, I know it looks daunting because spreadsheets are scary, but I just want to tell you that it's very simple and we're going to work through it together right now. So let's go through step by step. First of all, we need to understand what your average operating expenses per month is. So for this, we're going to go to your P&L, whether you're in MyOb or Xero or whatever you're in, and we're just going to set up your P&L so you've got 12 months monthly. So you just with 1 month, but over compare with 11 periods, so that you've got a breakdown that looks similar to this: September, August, July, June. What that's going to show us is the monthly cost of ops. Now, what we've learnt is a lot of you have different configurations of where your accounts are sitting. Now, just remember what we said before around what is an operational expense and what is a cost of sale. A lot of people have the field staff wages in the operational expenses. A lot of people have the hire equipment in operational expenses. And so what you can do is edit your P&L and shift the accounts around to be in the correct format. And that's going to help you in the long run because you've got an accurate gross profit and an accurate net profit. It won't affect your net profit, but it will affect your gross profit. So then monthly finance repayments is your vehicles. Now this normally sits in your balance sheet. So we don't see this in our P&L. And that's why we've put this in here, because most of us know, oh, we've got 5 vehicles, they're on finance, it's $1,000 a month. So you're going to put whatever in there so that we've got that figure. I'm going to come back to this stuff over here in a second. Monthly employee wages is how much do we pay our employees per month as well. And so what that's going to do is it's going to, you're going to be able to grab that from your P&L line items. So you take your field staff and your admin or your management staff and put that in, combine it and put it into this field. Then we add our wages for owners. Now this one here, we want you to put what you want to be making. Now don't stretch it too far. You know what, $1 million a year? Like, no, what do you need to live right now? Instead of it being I randomly take money out when I need it, let's get sensible about how we budget for our business and for our personal life and say, you know what, like I've done a self budget and we need $2,000 a week, let's just say. And so if that's the case, we're going to put, $8,000 a month just to cover it. And then it's going to add in the superannuation for you. And then it's going to add up all of the monthly wages, including yours. Now, the other thing is a lot of people's wages are sitting in the balance sheet as well, which is, you'll learn this in the Business Financials Masterclass, but it doesn't, if your wages are over in your balance sheet as owner A drawings or dividends or something like that, if that's what you account them to, then that won't be showing up in your P&L. So if you're working in the business, it's not giving you an accurate representation of how the business is going. But this calculator will help you see it if it's not. So we're going to put what you need in this area here. Then the superannuation will self-calculate. It will take these two figures and it will work it out, so you don't need to add that in. Next one is how many hours per week. Very simple there. And then you go and put your hours per tradespeople and apprentices. So this is full-time staff that you've hired, not yourself, okay? And then the utilization of apprentices is how billable are your apprentices right now? Are they like a first year and they're 0.2, they're not really billable? Or are they a fourth year and they're very billable and they're like a 0.8? For response, we make it easy. I like simplification. We've got some 0.8s, we've got some 0.2s. We just make it a blanket flat rate 0.5. It just makes it easier for calculating and simplifying what we're doing. I always like simple. Then it will work out your total billable resources. And then this here, we've worked out your average work days per month, including sick leave, annual leave, public holidays, and things like that. So that's already done for you. And it's going to work out your average cost per hour for your business. Now, just coming up to the top again, we're just coming up to here to talk about these operational expenses. All we have to do for these, I'm just going to quickly zoom in. So what we want to do for these here is take these things out. If they're sitting in your operational expenses at the moment, then take all of your staff wages out of that final figure at the bottom. Take all of the superannuation out of it. Take all your subbies out of it, because subbies are like materials, right? They're going to, you're going to put a markup on them, and then they're there when you need them and they're not there when you don't. So we don't want to muddy the waters by putting your subby time into your cost of ops. Take out any income tax expense, depreciation, entertainment, and hire equipment. As you can see, a lot of these are your cost of ops. And if your materials are in your your operational expenses, which I hope they're not, because I think by default Xero has them there, just take that out as well. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to be left with an hourly rate for the business. And what is also we're going to be able to do is say what you feel you're charging out at the moment. This is the simple version of the cost of ops. As you know, if you've done this before, in the higher version, it shows you at different efficiencies what you're going to make. Just a little insight there. But if you're just doing this, you can say, I think we're charging about 32 hours a week. Now you can see this is where efficiency plays a factor. So this business is going to be struggling if they're not charging over $200 an hour. And so if they're able to charge 40 hours a week, now we're sitting at 158. So you can see as we become more efficient as a business, the cost of the business per resource per hour goes down. And that's what we want. So what we're going to learn in this masterclass is how do we have a system that we continuously can optimize so that it maximizes efficiency and drives our cost of operation down. So our cost per hour goes down and our profitability goes up, creating a bigger gap and more profit. You like the sound of that? And that is what we're doing in this 4-week masterclass.